I was speaking to with all the clinch and the grab. Oh, my goodness! He's got to be very careful.
There is nothing better than a good old-fashioned grudge match, and that's exactly what we've got at UFC 281, where the middleweight champ of the world, Israel Adesanya,
I was in the nosebleeds, and now I made his nose bleed.
Takes on his kickboxing foe, Alex Pereira. Both of these former elite kickboxers have taken over the MMA world in quick succession. In the past, they shared the ring twice, and now they will share the octagon to determine not only who is the best middleweight on the planet, but who is the right to call themselves the best striker in all of MMA. So before November 12th rolls around, let's take a look at this championship bout and see who might get their hands raised at Madison Square Garden. Israel Adesanya. Perhaps the best striker in all of MMA, Stylebender has already etched his name in the history books. His impressive 23-1 record comes with a middleweight title which he has successfully defended 5 times, including setting the record for the most takedowns in a UFC title fight. Along with this record, Adesanya has the second longest winning streak in the UFC middleweight division history and the second most title fight wins in the UFC middleweight division history. Only the legend, Anderson Silva, has a more impressive middleweight resume than Adesanya, but Adesanya has achieved all of this in just 4 years. He made his UFC debut in 2018 and since then has defeated the likes of Marvin Vettori, Kelvin Gastelum, Robert Whittaker, Yoel Romero, Paulo Costa, Jared Cannonier, and Anderson Silva. Out of his 23 wins, 15 have come via KO or TKO because of Stylebender's extensive kickboxing background. He is one of the most successful kickboxers to transition to MMA, and it's clear to see as he manages distance masterfully, while landing clean and precise punches, knees, and kicks on his opponents that often see them reeling under Adesanya's speed and power. That is why for several years no one questioned that Adesanya had the best stand-up game in MMA. But that was before two-division Glory kickboxing champion Alex Pereira made his UFC debut. Alex Pereira. Known as Poatan, Pereira was widely regarded as one of the best kickboxers on the planet as he held both the middleweight and the light heavyweight Glory kickboxing titles. However, after conquering the kickboxing world, he set his eyes on a new challenge. MMA is a completely different sport than kickboxing, but don't tell that to Pereira, as in just 1 year with the UFC, he's already earned himself a crack at the middleweight title. Pereira's current MMA record isn't all that impressive as he's only had 7 fights, winning 6 of them, 5 of which came via KO or TKO. But what is impressive is that he made his UFC debut in November of last year where he TKO'd Andreas Michailidis with a flying knee in the second round. Since then, he defeated Bruno Silva and then most recently took on a top 5 middleweight in Sean Strickland. Strickland was supposed to be the toughest test in Pereira's young MMA career.
I've trained with plenty of good kickboxers. I think I can handle it.
But he made short and easy work of Strickland as he KO'd him in the very first round. After such a stunning performance, MMA world was buzzing to see Pereira take on the middleweight king, to not only see who the best striker in MMA was, but also because of the rich history the two fighters have had, which started in the Glory of Heroes kickboxing event back in 2016. Kickboxing history. In their first fight, we saw a more aggressive Stylebender than the one in recent UFC title fights. Adesanya controlled the distance expertly to the point where he made Pereira miss several strikes by a wide margin. While Adesanya landed the cleaner punches, which seemed to overwhelm Pereira, who tried to counter with more powerful strikes, Adesanya had an easy time reading what Pereira was going to throw in the first fight, as he managed to either dodge or block most of the power punches and kicks. It seemed as Adesanya had done more than enough to get his hand raised after the fight was over, but the judges sided with Pereira. Now this would set up a rematch a year later at Glory of Heroes 7 in Pereira's home country of Brazil. This time there would be no doubt who won. Alex came out aggressive trying to give his fans a good show, but Adesanya weathered the storm and landed several clean strikes to the head. Adesanya had his best moments in the second round where he rocked Pereira a couple of times before the referee stepped in for a 10 count. But in the third round, he then turned the tables and landed his patented left hook and KO'd Stylebender. With the backdrop set, this brings us to the UFC 281 main event. So first, let's take a look at their offensive striking package. Striking offense. Starting with the champ, Adesanya has become one of the best counter-strikers in MMA. As he often says, he doesn't just throw strikes hoping they land, but rather picks his spots carefully and overwhelms his opponent with feints, stance switches, and using a wide arsenal of strikes. This is evident with his per-minute striking rate of 3.93. His accuracy is almost at 50% as his offensive game relies on kicks a lot. Adesanya uses his kicks like a jab to set and maintain his distance, to score points, and to build combinations off of his kicks. Because his counter-striking is so effective, there have been times where the fight converged on being stale because his opponents refused to throw enough strikes for Adesanya to counter them. It seems as if his recent opponents learned what happens when you recklessly attack Adesanya, like Paulo Costa and Robert Whittaker did. On the other side, we have Poatan. Alex has a staggering per-minute strike landed rate at 6.29, but we do have to take into consideration the number of fights that each man has had. Because Pereira has only had 3 fights in the UFC, these stats can seem inflated, compared to Adesanya, who has fought 13 times. Still, in his short run in the UFC, Pereira has been a monster on his feet. He needed just 11 strikes to take out his first opponent, and he outlanded his second opponent 108-59. And in his recent win, he landed 25 strikes in 2.5 minutes, including the KO blow. Now, usually we would put more emphasis on experience, but Pereira has fought the best in the world in stand-up, so you can't argue that against him. Which, along with his 60% strike accuracy rate, will favor the offensive part of striking with Pereira, who is always looking to march his opponents down and take them clean out. Striking defense. When we look at their defensive skill sets, we see a different picture. Although Pereira lands more strikes, he also absorbs 3.3 strikes per minute. This is because he's usually the aggressor on the feet and is willing to trade shots with his opponents, knowing that he has the speed, accuracy, and power advantage on his side. While Stylebender is the best counter-striker in the game and only absorbs 2.67 strikes per minute, which are largely probing leg attacks or distance-finding jabs. It is rare for anyone to really land a powerful strike on Stylebender. The last person to do so was Kelvin Gastelum in 2019. Adesanya is known for his movement and is rarely there for his opponents to land their techniques. He expertly dodges kicks and punches while maneuvering himself in a counter-striking position. So when it comes to defense, we'll give the edge to Adesanya. Grappling. This is an MMA fight and not a kickboxing one, but we don't imagine that this fight will go to the ground, so we won't spend much time here. The grappling advantage goes to Adesanya because he has dedicated more time to learning wrestling and jiu-jitsu, as Pereira was still kickboxing last year. So it would be a twist if we saw Adesanya implement his grappling skills in this fight, but it's almost certain we'll see 2 of the best strikers in the game duke it out on their feet. X Factor. Adesanya's X Factor comes down to his counter-striking. Recently, there has been a lot of talk about how Adesanya has to be more aggressive, but this would be the wrong fight to show that. Instead, if Adesanya can continue his counter-striking ways where he controls the range and scores points through his kicks and jabs, he should be able to capitalize on Pereira's aggression. Stylebender should stay disciplined to his ways and ignore the crowd. While for Pereira, the X Factor is simple. It's the same that it always is in his fights. It's his power. He legitimately might have the most devastating left hook in kickboxing history, and the power has more than translated in MMA, where the smaller gloves have allowed him to KO 4 of his 6 opponents with his punches. The most recent one being Strickland, who never had been KO'd by a punch, but couldn't take Pereira's left hook. Prediction? As far as the odds go, Adesanya is a -170 favorite, while Pereira comes in at a +145 underdog. So the odds have it as close on for the middleweight title. So we think if Adesanya can implement his game plan as he has done in his recent performances and keep out of a gunfight with Pereira while frustrating him with scoring strikes. Then Adesanya can either take home a decision or catch Pereira coming in as he tries to push the tempo and even finish the dangerous Brazilian striker. For Pereira to win, he has to make the fight dirty. He has to push the pace and bring the action to Adesanya, which will expose himself to Adesanya's strikes, but will also give Pereira the opening to land the KO shot. So if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell beside it so that you're notified the next time we upload a new video. And with that being said, you just watched us break down the upcoming middleweight title fight between Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira. See you next time.